and
Okay.
it should start working over here on our end. But yeah, here we go. So as we were talking about, and now we're live now, and
Okay.
yeah, that looks good. So hopefully, I'm gonna put something out in the chat here to make sure everybody can hear us. Um, it's really exciting to have you on again. It's been a long time since we've been doing this, and the one thing that I've been really looking forward to is football season is getting so much closer. I talked a little bit about the different things that I'm looking forward to, as far as the season. And
Hmm.
hey, can you guys hear us okay? Let me know in the chat if you guys can hear Pless and myself,
Yeah.
and let us know. Just okay. And Pless, can you hear Pless?
Yeah. How's everyone going? Or how's everyone doing? Not going, but doing.
All right. So, welcome to this, and I'm going to call this the 2019 season for Buck. What you heard, usual suspects. My guy Michael Pless and myself, both doing. Especially Mike, I want to tell you, congratulations. You guys are doing a great job with Real Bucks Talk. I really enjoy it, and I really hope that you guys can continue to do this because you guys are doing an amazing job. I love the X's and O's. And I think that's the aspect that you bring to the show that I really, really appreciate. So you guys are doing great. And I just want to say, hey, how you doing? And
Thank you.
tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah. Like Gene was saying, we got a podcast. It's at Real Bucks Talk. So pretty much anything social media, you can just find us right there at Real Bucks Talk. You can also email us it's realbuckstalk@gmail.com if you have any thoughts or questions. So be sure to check us out there. But yeah, our podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, and Podbean. Just put out a recent episode, just me and Mark talking about different aspects of the team and what we're looking for as far as training camp goes. But yeah, man, it's good to be back on with you and talking football. I can't believe it's already training camps next week, which is pretty crazy.
Man, that's what you get excited about. And
Mm.
just a roll call with everybody: TC Baby One, Byron Moore, Willie Horace, Steve Bass. How you doing, Steven? TC Baby One, AA Good. How are you doing? Rarely Even, one of the longtime listeners. What's going to everybody? What's going on to everybody? Um, plus, again, rarely, as it rarely even says, love the Real Bucks Talk podcast. So, I
Appreciate it.
really want you guys to get as much exposure as possible. You guys do an amazing job.
Thank you.
So, right off the bat, and I know we've kind of recapped the off season, so I'm not going to get too much into that.
Mhm.
As things have progressed so far, what are you looking for as far as camp, any matchups or anything that you're like, man, we were deficient on this last year? And you pretty much have to look at this team and give it all a mulligan do-over with the new
Mhm.
coaching staff, and you got quite a few new players and a lot of new rookies. So, give me kind of sum that up for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big question the whole offseason, I mean, we talked about it before the show, is like, is it talent or is it coaching? Which one is it going to be? And I think we're finally going to figure out, that question this year. So looking at the staff and looking at the players that have been brought in and looking at the, returning key players, it's going to be interesting to just see how these guys mature, especially the core pieces, your Levante David, your Jameis Winston, Mike Evans, Ali Marpet, all those guys, and just really seeing how they come together. Big years for a number of players on this team. You have a lot of players under 1-year deals. So it's going to be a very competitive training camp, which I think it has been in the past, but I want to see just the overall urgency from the get-go, and really show that they have a plan in place and a purpose with, every drill that they're doing. And then also, I mean, the main thing I also really want to see is just physicality. Like it's been a little bit soft over the years, and I want to see
Mm-hmm.
some, just more physicality. Whether it's the corners playing aggressive with the receivers, or just making it tough on everyone, so that they have to fight that extra gear to become better as a player. So those are just little things. I mean, if we have to get into positions, I mean, obviously, I think the biggest two is probably offensive line and secondary, because really don't know what that right side of the line is going to look like, and then you don't know what your secondary is going to be, because it's really all up for grabs. It could be anybody.
You know what I really liked? I like something you said earlier, and it's something we've kind of been echoing throughout the off season.
Mm-hmm.
Was it coaching or was it talent
Right.
that had the Buccaneers underachieving over the past couple of years? So it's going to be really good to kind of get an idea of what's going on. I think what I'm really most excited about is camp. Camp is going to be different because you're going to have a bigger camp. You're not going to have guys standing around with their helmet on their hands. Everybody's going to be getting a chance to get out there and play. And Bruce Arians made the statement, he's scraping the bottom of the barrel. I think it's important to get to see what everybody can do. I think it's very important to, instead of having that third string guy on the sidelines, let's have him out there, running drills or doing something so you can kind of get an idea. You get an idea how to evaluate him versus the rest of the players. So that's something that, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's a great point, and I really want to see how that makes an impact, especially in the preseason games. I mean, we look over the last couple of years and you'd watch the preseason, and our first team would do actually pretty solid, or they'd be okay, and then we get into the bottom half of the roster, and it just looked like these guys didn't know what they were doing. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays a part into the preseason and how much better these guys look, because they are getting those extra reps in practice. And really, is that going to make that much of an impact? And if it does, then Bruce Arians is really doing it the right way for these players, and making sure they have the best opportunity to catch on with either the Bucs or with some other team.
Yeah, absolutely. And just having that film out there that another head coach can look at and say, hey, I think I like what this guy can do. I think he would be a good fit for our scheme, whether it's offense or defense. So yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. And then if you flip that.
I think we lost him here for a second. We'll get him back here in just a moment. I'm not sure. Let's see. Give me a second here. Sorry about that, guys. We're new software, and we'll try to get him back on. But in the meantime, just kind of getting back to what what Pless was talking about here. I think it's important to keep in mind that things you get a chance to see these players and see what they're capable of doing. And on the flip side of that, I think where he may have been going with this, you get to look at players and say, hey, we've been looking at this guy as a starter, but maybe this guy's a little bit better than he is. So I think we got disconnected. I'm gonna see if I can get him back on here. Give me a second here, and I'm not sure if it's internet or what's going on, but see if he can and. Yeah, bear with me one moment. So, guys, I'm gonna get in the chat right now while I'm waiting for Plus to get back on here, because I really saw some really interesting comments out here. And Kwame Richardson, what's going on? How are you doing? Steve Bass, building a running game. That's all we need to pound the rock. Then Jameis Winston will be okay. Again, we saw what Jameis Winston was able to do with a decent running back and a suspect. A suspect defense. So hopefully you can, and I mentioned this last night when I was talking about just having that well-rounded team where you have everybody out there playing and doing what they're supposed to do. So that's going to be very, very important to see if we can get that going. Just kind of going back to, I'm going to look through the chat here. Playing catch up has always been our problem. TC baby, you're absolutely right. Any games that the Bucs have fought and scraped to get into a game, they get a lead, and the defense has not been able to hold the lead. So, for me, and I've mentioned this before, it'll be really interesting to see what this defense is going to look like, and how they're going to be able to hold up. So that's going to be it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. So I think we lost Pless, but see if we can get him back on here. I don't know if it's internet. No, trying to get back in. Give me 1 second. It's technical difficulties. We'll see if we can get him back on here in just a moment. But kind of getting back to Rarely Even said Bruce Arians is bringing in guys like Dexter Jackson and Warren Sapp as honorary coaches in camp. That's the first time I've heard that. I don't see a problem with that. Hopefully that would be something that they can come in and definitely motivate these players and help them get to the right place. So I don't know. As far as Ronald Jones, I saw a video of Ronald Jones, and Ronald Jones is cut. I mean, he's thick, like a running back thick. I mean, he's not, when you looked at him, he looked small last year, but if you look at him and you watch him work out, that's just, it's going to be something to really see what they can actually do with him. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to go. Coin flip in a moment. What's the word on Ronald Jones? What's good? P. Cody, what's going on? Everything is good with me. Running into some technical difficulties. Like I was saying, we've got new software. Audio's a lot better. The picture's good. We're working through a couple of things and, get that internet strong, and we should be good to go. So give me a second here and let me see if I can get this all fixed. Rojo got that coach running him. Yeah. Did you see the video of him running the hills? Man, I was like, wow, this dude, he doesn't even look like the same. He doesn't look like the same running back. But again, I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. You really want to, kind of give this team a do-over. Let's see what they do how they respond under different coaching. Okay, give me 1 second here. Let's see if I can. I'm gonna get Pless back on here one more time, and I think so. Bear with me one moment. I'm getting him on here and start a session. All right, and I'll try to get some of you guys on here in the coming weeks. But I'm getting Mike back on here. We'll see if we can. We'll have him try that. And let me get back to the chat here while I'm doing this, while we're waiting on him, and see if we can get him in here. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, he's in great shape. Yeah, but again, kind of going back to what I was talking about, I'm kind of distracted trying to get Pless back in here. I'm actually looking forward to the defense. I want to see what this 4-3 is going to look like. You've had a lot of people. All right, cool. Give me a second. I'll get you on here, Plus. All right. Yeah, we should be good. All right. Oh, no worries. No, we're good, man. Like I said, that's what this is all about, man. Getting you back on. And I'll let you go ahead and get back to what you were saying earlier, because you were on to something. I think that we're thinking the same thing, but I know that we were talking about the flip side of the Bucks being able to respond to this coach, and kind of want to go ahead and let you finish your thought on that. Yeah. And I think that I think that's definitely the way things are going to go too. Just when you kind of look at it, because it gives the opportunity to say, hey, you've been here as a starter, but this guy seems to be doing this much better. Let's see how he does in this system. They're saying they can't hear you. Hold on 1 second here. Yeah. Give me a second. Let's see. Sorry, guys. we'll get this going here. How about now? Okay. All right, hold on one second here. Let's see. Did I like? Still can't hear plus. Let's see here. And yeah, it's all YouTube. Nothing. Yeah, so hold on one second. Let's see audio. Oh, okay, hold on one second. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay. All right. How's that? Is that should be better? Plus, can you? Yeah. All right. Can you hear him now?
Can you hear me now? I'm live.
He's live. He's back. Hey, all hands. What's going on? Yeah. So, can you hear him now?
Can you hear me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep. Okay. There it's fixed. They said it's fixed, so we're good.
All right. All right.
Yeah. So I'll let you go ahead and complete your what you were talking about, man, because I think you were really on to something there.
Oh yeah, it was basically just like the whole coaching staff with the 2 practices going on at the same time. Really, that's just going to help them with being able to identify the roster better, being able to really know what they have. I think you're going to lead to a better constructed roster. And then what I said earlier, I think the preseason games are going to be just better effectively, like more efficient. Like when you get into the second and third team, I think those guys are going to play better because they've been getting reps. They've been practicing more. They've been getting good playing time in practice, and I think that's going to help them out.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with all this too. I think that's where you're going to look at guys that you've had. And the cool thing about this, Bruce Arians is not married to any of these players. Right. So there are going to be players that he's going to look at and say, hey, this guy is outplaying you. I don't have a problem putting him in and sitting you down if you can't, if you're not producing. So I think he's in a really good spot right now where he can actually do some things and really get you the best 53-man roster. And this year is going to be the most important because of the middle of the season. This is where you're going to see how mentally tough, how physically tough, and just how tough in general the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are. These are games that are going to matter in the middle of the season. This is where you're going to see, and we've seen this in the past years, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have done good in the beginning. They've come out kind of hot. Then you may have a couple of injuries, and then they just run into losing streaks, and it really kind of puts them out of playoff contention by the middle of the season. So these are things that they've really got to address, and you need to make sure that you have that personnel out there that can bring it and help you to win games when you really need them.
Yeah, for sure. And that was like something we were actually good at with the Dirk Cutter, Dirk Cutter coaching staff. They were actually good at starting fast and getting off to, decent starts. I mean, last year we started 2-0. The year before that, I think we were off to a good start. Same thing when I think it was his first season, he beat the Falcons, that first game. So he's done a good job of starting fast and getting off to, pretty decent starts. The problem is, teams find out what we're doing and they figure it out. And, the game to game planning or the week to week game planning wasn't there, where he was adjusting to his opponent and, instead of just doing the same thing over and over, hoping that works. I mean, he was making some adjustments, but it wasn't where his entire game plan was geared towards, this opponent. It was just doing his playbook. And yes, you have to do your playbook, but at the same time, you got to find the matchups and really understand how to take advantage of those, given opportunities. And I think this coaching staff is going to do a better job of getting them more prepared and also helping them understand exactly what each of them they have to do. Like each player will actually know their entire, description better. It's just there just didn't seem to have that connection. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And there were times where the defense looked like they were walking in quicksand, and you're like, man, what's going on here? But it's like they were like unsure of what to do. They haven't forgot how to play football. It may have been the scheme of the previous defensive coordinators, and they just weren't put in the best positions that they really could have been in, to be honest. Just kind of going back and looking at the film. And I do realize that there's enough blame to go around for everybody. And I know we've talked about coaching. There were fundamental plays where players were out of position, missing tackles, not wrapping up. You've got chances to get a 5-yard stop and it turns into a 15-yard gain. So there was a lot of that. And I'm really hoping that they can clean up a lot of the fundamentals, because those are the things that get you into the NFL to begin with. Being able to wrap up, being able to tackle, being able to make plays. And it's just like, I don't know what happened. It just seems like, it's like they lose some of that.
Yeah, the attention to details is definitely important. And I think that's something that they're going to definitely harp on. And like you said, being overall consistent, like just being consistent week to week. And you have to see that from, not only our star players on this team, but it has to be all the way down to your, 53 guy, your last guy on the roster. They have to be assignment sound, playing as one team. And I think that's what we're going to get back to, where it's complementary football. You get offense, defense, and special teams playing as one. Right. I think that's going to go a long way. But it's just like the in-game, I think the in-game strategy is what I was trying to get to, not the week-to-week, but just in-game adjustments, I think is something that we're definitely going to be seeing. And I think that's something that was a hindrance towards, Dirk Cutter's staff. They couldn't figure that part out. And I think with Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles, especially Todd Bowles, like he's one of the better in-game adjustment kind of guys. Like he knows how to adjust in the second half and really see a different type of defense, which is exciting.
Yep. And to that point, you hit the nail on the head. I expect to see more of that, those in-game adjustments. That's the one thing. If you've never watched Bruce Arians, which getting to see him with the Cardinals, getting to see him with the Colts when he was there, the one thing that I will say that we're in for a pleasant surprise is those are the in-game adjustments where something's not working. They're not going to hammer a square peg into a round hole all the way for 4 quarters. They're going to make adjustments and try to fix the problem. Case in point, the Atlanta Falcons game where you had Julio Jones with 200 yards receiving, 200 plus yards receiving, and he was confused as to why there were no adjustments. So that's just an example. I'm not saying that was the whole thing, but again, there's enough blame to go around for everybody, but that's kind of where we were.
Yeah. And like I said, it goes back to what we said in the beginning. It's going to come back to whether it's talent or coaching, and we're going to find out. But the past 2 head coaches, well, Dirk Cutter and now Bruce Arians, they've both said this roster is talented. Like they haven't said talent is the issue. And now we're really going to see, like, with this coaching staff of this magnitude, can they really take this roster to the next level and get these guys playing above, what their ability is, or take it to where their ability matches their play? We're gonna see and find out real soon.
Yeah, and I know we're never gonna really know, but one of the things that's always popped into my head, and as I watch these games, did everybody buy in? I mean, when you've got certain players in the locker room, and some players are more nonchalant about losing, and some players, they're all about the money. And, I just wonder, did you have all 53 on that roster buying into, what Dirk Cutter was? I'm reading the chat here. Somebody called him Dirk Cutter, and I wasn't trying not to say that. But, yeah, it's just like you said, Dirk Cutter just couldn't make those adjustments. And we saw that in the final games of the season, where, he couldn't even call a timeout in the 4th quarter to possibly, secure a win. So I don't know, man. That's the one thing that really intrigues me is the adjustments. And is this going to be something that we can say, hey, yeah, man, it was coaching. And I think we've got a good deal with having Dirk Cutter here. Dirk Cutter, Jesus Christ. I got to get that guy's head out of my hit my head, get him out of here, man. Because yeah, Bruce Arians. Was it a good deal to have Bruce Arians here? So that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's move on to 2019 because
there we go.
Yeah, forget the past. But yeah, it's just gonna be exciting. With this new regime and the whole offseason, it just seems like there's a different vibe. There's a really good, a good vibe, and we've said that in the past as well. But this just seems it seems different. It just seems more business like. There's no more music at practice, which is nice. Just straight to football. They're right to getting their work done, and it just seems like they're building a culture, that winning culture that they've been looking for. Right. And now it's just about going out there and executing the plan, and hopefully they can do it. Obviously you got to have some breaks, you got to stay healthy, and you got to have players, go out there and get it done. But we'll see. I'm excited. I just I see these workout videos. I'm really excited about Ronald Jones, just seeing what he's been doing and really pulling for him. And then same thing with Mike Evans. Evans looks like he's trying to take it to another level.
Right.
Really working on his speed game, it looks like. So and then just the overall the vibe from the rookies that they brought in and those videos that they've been posting is looking really good. I think I commented it on our podcast at Real Bucks Talk, about Matt Gay, the kicker, and just his reaction of, wanting to be the best in the NFL and, being the best kicker in Bucks franchise history. That speaks volumes. It speaks volumes to how much he cares. And that's a good thing to see.
Yep. And the thing is, they've got to turn, they're saying, everybody's saying the right things. Everybody's doing the right things. Right. We got to get it on the field, man. That's where it's going to really, really, really determine, how good this offseason was, or was this were we led astray again this year? But just and one last thought, and we'll kind of move on. But I'm not going to say this was all. I'm not going to put all this on Dirk Koetter. I'm not, because the players still need to go out there and play and do their part. But there's enough blame to go around, and I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. But I will say that we've moved on. They've made adjustments. They've replaced players. They've brought in rookies, and they've brought in players that it looks like on paper that they've made that they've made improvements in different. They've not made a lot of lateral moves, but they've made improvements in certain positions. So it's going to be up to these players to go out there and show that is the case. But on paper, you do see a lot of improvements based on what they had last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. I think, talent-wise and looking at the roster from positional standpoint, my main concerns still is probably that right side of the offensive line.
Yeah.
And then you look at the defense, obviously it's the secondary just because of it being so young. And you really don't know what you have there as far as all the pieces involved. I think the front seven is going to be fine. I'm not worried about that. I think you got some good pieces up there. Got a lot of good veterans mixed in with youth. So I think that will be fine. It's just that back end, I'm hoping they can just, come up to speed quicker than most.
Yeah. You kind of go back to the offensive line, and the fact that the Bucks did not address the offensive line in any capacity really in the draft. Do you think, just looking at the talent that they have on that line, is it possible that they can protect Jameis? Or do you see? Just based on what they have, everybody were to stay healthy, everything works out. Do you think there's enough talent on that line to protect Jameis and help get this running game going and get more explosive?
Yeah, I think so. You got to hope so, because the coaching staff, looking at the tape from last year, obviously they feel this offensive line wasn't that bad. They think it's a lot better than it looked last year and maybe the year before that as well. There is there's a lot of talent in that room, I think. It's just about getting these guys on the same page and getting the cohesion that they need. Obviously the rotation of the right guard, that didn't help anybody. That didn't do anybody any favors. And then you look at the, right tackle situation with
Mhm.
Dotson missing some games. And
Right.
so really it's just about, you got to hope, DeMar can make it a full season and really, go out. This is probably going to be his last year, let's be honest, as a
Yeah.
Buccaneer. Let's just hope he can go out with a really good season, and play, hopefully all 16. And then as far as the right guard, I think they're going to try to go with probably, Earl Watford or hopefully Alex Kappa. I think Kappa
Yeah.
is the guy they want to be the right guard, but
Yeah,
I don't
we'll
think
just
they're
kind of
gonna.
have to. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that works out.
Yeah, I just don't
Um,
think they're gonna force it. So
yeah, All Hands Galley was talking about Zach Bailey as a sleeper to make the team at right guard.
yeah, yeah, for sure. That's one of the guys that my co-host Mark Ramirez brought up. He talked about Zach Bailey. He's got a typical guard body, big Muller type of dude. He can really move for a big guy. So he's got some ability there. Now it's just about putting it out there, and
Hmm.
hopefully he can take that next step to the NFL level. So yeah, he's someone to look for. But back to your original question, I think they definitely are good enough, and I think that's why they didn't address it as much as we would have liked. Um, so I think it just goes back to getting these guys in a better scheme to fit what they do,
Uh
and
huh.
then also making sure everybody's on the same page, and just making it easier on them. I think at
Yeah.
times it was a little bit too difficult for them. Jameis, it goes on him as well. He's got to get rid of the football. I think they're working on that too, making sure that the offensive line is finishing their blocks and really protecting all the way through the play. So, because if you really look at it last year, pass protection wasn't that big of an issue. It was actually pretty decent. It was mainly just the run blocking, because the whole run
Oh
scheme in
yeah.
general, it was just trash. I mean,
Yeah.
let's be honest, it was just not good at all.
Yeah, and then play call situational football was just not there.
Right.
Yeah, it was just really
Yeah.
it was a hot mess.
Yep. Yeah,
So
exactly. I agree with that. It's just about putting these guys in better position, and I think Bruce has emphasized that throughout his coaching staff. So it's going to be interesting to see how they improve so much, and especially Donovan Smith. I mean, he
yeah,
gets all the heat, and I think he can be a really good left tackle, if you
yeah.
just give him the tools that he needs to be successful.
Yeah, and again, these guys are all going to get the opportunity to get out there
Mhm.
and show what they can do, especially with camp. So,
Yep.
what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump into the chat here real quick, and I want to thank everybody that's out here. Sarge AR10, what's going on? Glad to see you in here. Glad you're enjoying the chat here and getting in here. Rex Dillon, what's going on? How are you doing today? All Hands Galley. We haven't seen gang tackling on this defense really since Derek Brooks left. Hopefully, with Bowles, they'll emphasize that. Um, let's see who's going to camp. Matthew Kitchell was asking who's going to camp. In game was poor. Bruce Arians gave us credit for practicing strong. That's credit to the previous staff, but game day planning was poor. That's Amazement 717. Matthew Kitchell, Dirk Love Clock Management. Yeah, there we go. Prodby 86. I hope our secondary executes this year. That's really interesting because I think the Sergeant made a comment about Sergeant AR10 made a comment about the no secondary, no offensive line equals the basement.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on this secondary? I mean, with all the draft picks that are out there, a lot of players, they've gone secondary heavy for quite a few picks,
Mhm.
and I know they've got the suspension, Ryan Smith with a suspension, but I think Ryan Smith was fighting for a roster spot. It's not like he was a feature cornerback or anything like that. I could be wrong on that, but I don't see that with everybody they have. I don't see that being that big of a deal, with him getting suspended.
No, I mean it was going to be an uphill battle for Ryan Smith, anyways.
Yeah.
Going into training camp, and just with the new additions that they made. Even though they are rookies, very talented though. So and a lot of speed, and that's what they're trying to aim at. Just getting faster on the field. So, and Ryan Smith is one of their more athletic corners, which is good. He's got size. I think he's someone that they would have liked to work with, and they still will. I mean, they're going to be able to work with him during training camp and preseason. But at the same point, you know, I look at him as a fourth, to fifth guy, fourth to fifth corner. You can use him as depth or special teams. So that's where I think he excels. But it's going to be interesting to see him play in this scheme and see how he fits as far as being more aggressive, because I think that fits his play style. So I still think he'll be on the team once he gets out of that suspension. I think he'll be that fourth or fifth guy probably, and you can use him as a depth piece because there are going to be injuries. So
Yeah, most definitely. And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the middle of the season or towards the back end of the season. This is where you're going to need players to come in and execute and make plays because, this is the NFL. There will be injuries. So it's going to be something to watch this year, too, towards the back end of the season, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are. Do they fold up? Do we run into what we've seen over the past few years, or do they get over that hump and get those stops in the fourth quarter and get the ball back to the offense and win some games that way? Do they win those close games? Are they able to run the ball and close out games, which we've seen them struggle to do in the past couple of years as well? So getting that running game on track is going to be huge, especially towards the middle and the back end of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You got to be somewhat balanced throughout the year. I think that's critical. You got to be able to either run or use the play action. So that is going to be a big part of the offense. And I think defensively, the whole key is just getting turnovers. I think you got to be able to take the ball away defensively. So that is why I think they've added so much emphasis on the secondary and adding more speed and guys that can make plays on the ball. And then you look at the front seven, they have guys that can push the pocket and get after the quarterback using their speed. So, yeah, I think they definitely want to, run the football. I think that's going to be the first thing, and then use that play action to use the vertical passing game. But it's gonna be different. I think fans are gonna be excited for a change and how this team plays, especially on defense.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where you're gonna see the biggest change, because it's not gonna be reactive anymore. It's gonna be go and get the football. It's gonna be go and attack. I think you're gonna see the same thing on offense, which is exciting.
Yeah, most definitely. And another player that we haven't really talked about, All Hands Golly, was talking about Deone Bucannon. And he was saying Deone Bucannon will be interesting. We haven't had a roving player like him before. He's got a unique talent. He's somebody that I will be watching along with Shaq Barrett. So those are a couple of players that I can't wait to see what they do. I'm not as concerned about the linebacker position. I can't wait to see the rookie, see what he can do. But just some of the players that they've brought in that they've surrounded him with, I think that it's going to be really great to get to see all those guys out there as well. Sin A, what's going on? How are you doing tonight? But yeah, this is going to be a great season. I know that you had mentioned that you're going to be out at camp. The camp's going to be huge from everything that I've heard. Camp's going to be huge. You're not going to get to see everything. Anything that you would be specifically looking to see?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's going to be focused on the defense, but I mean, my eyes are going to be just focused on the trenches, and that goes on both sides of the ball, offense line and the front seven. Even though I have less concerns with the front seven, I'm still going to be watching them because, I mean, let's be honest, that's where the games are won.
Yeah.
So definitely that offensive line and just seeing, who's out there on the right side. If you want to get individual players wise, I mean, obviously Ronald Jones, I think he's been the talk of the offseason. So just seeing how he looks, it's going to be hard to tell, running wise, but just really seeing him in the passing game and how they use these running backs in the passing game is going to be interesting. And then also secondary, I think, Sean Murphy Bunting, can he continue his talk and his hype? Same thing with the rest of them. Mike
Yeah.
Edwards, Justin Evans, is he gonna, finally put everything together? Same thing with like Noah Spence.
Yeah.
So there's a couple guys. I mean, and then if you want to look at like sleeper type of guys that are gonna maybe come out of nowhere, keep an eye on David Kinney. I think he's number 46. He's like one of the outside linebackers slash defensive ends. So keep an eye on that guy. Very interesting story with him. I'm trying to think of any others. Obviously, Zach Bailey, we've mentioned.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'll tell you a guy that I'm
yeah,
actually going to keep my eye on too is Vernon Hargraves. Really want
Bernard
to see
Hargraves.
want to see what he can do. There, he's actually playing in a 3-4 different coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see what he does. This is one of those one of those guys where you're still not sure what you have with him
Mm-hmm.
based on his play. And again, we're going to see, was that attributed to coaching, or was that attributed to
Right.
just him or the scheme, or what I'm not sure what it was, but just giving him an opportunity to play to his strengths. We'll get a good
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to see what he can do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just really a lot of those guys, you're looking at the 2016 draft class, whether it be, Vernon Hargraves, Noah Spence, those guys really, they still have a chance to become a core part of your team. And
Right.
if they can come out this year and really play well, that's going to be huge benefits for the Bucs, especially on defense. If they can really take that game to match their draft status and be something of significance, that'd be outstanding. And you look at even guys maybe further back. You look at like a William Golston. Can
Yeah.
he revive his career and maybe even come a little bit more consistent and better than he was before? So it's just looking out for those guys. Carl Nassib, can he repeat what he did last year, or maybe even better? Um, I'm trying to think of others. Obviously Vita Vea. Can he take the next step forward? Can he be, that breakout player that we were hoping for?
He's somebody that I have my eye on, and if he
Mhm.
can stay healthy, and that's my concern,
Right.
just based on the type of injury he had last year and how
Mhm.
much of a setback that was for him. But he did come on strong towards the back end of the season, so I'm really curious to see what he's capable of doing. I think
Mhm.
he will. He again is somebody that will come along and have a great season if he can stay healthy.
Mhm.
Physically, he's just incredible. Just watching him move offensive linemen around and his speed, you just don't find a lot of guys with that kind of speed. So he's somebody I'm definitely going to be looking for as well.
Yeah, I mean, and then if I mean you want to go on offense, obviously the obvious candidates is OJ Howard. I see he's been mentioned in the chat.
Yeah,
Can he finally put everything together and have that that season that we all know he can? And really stay healthy for 16 games. And then you look at like Chris Godwin, same thing. But the biggest key on offense, I think we've all know is number 3 is Jameis Winston.
yeah,
Like, can he finally take that next step and become that top 10 quarterback that we know he can? And really, can he put just everything together consistently and really be that guy? If
yeah,
he can, then this team has a great chance of competing for playoffs just with that in itself.
yeah.
They'll be right there in the mix.
And again, that comes back to your head coach. Your head coach,
Right.
he's 100% bought into Jameis Winston, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that that plays a factor as well. How will Jameis respond if he does something, and you've got this guy buying into you, and you're not doing what you're supposed to. But I honestly believe that we just kind of have to take a step back. Let's see what happens. Let's see
Mm-hmm.
how the season goes before you say anything else. I mean, I've looked at his body of work, and I know he's had turnovers. I get that, but it just hasn't been a complete football team
Right.
for a long time. And I don't think since Jameis has been here, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have not been a complete football team where the defense goes out and does their job and the offense goes out and does their job. So
Right.
I'm not making excuses. You know, the stats speak for themselves. You can go look at his film; it speaks for itself. But I do believe that, you know, getting him out here, he's got another opportunity to show what he can do, and it's possible he could get that max contract next year if he does have a good season. I think that he will be fine as long as he can get out of his own way and not put the team in a bad position with a turnover or, you know, a bad play. So, you know, just great decision making is going to be very important this year, especially.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you said earlier about, you know, situational football, and I think that's something that this coaching staff is just like keeps on emphasizing. Like they're just really stressing it and really, you know, making sure these guys understand what is going on throughout each second of the game and really understanding, okay, I need to go out and do this, and then, you know, trusting your teammates that they'll go out there and do their jobs as well. So just knowing every aspect of the game and knowing, you know, what certain situation you're in, I think that's going to be significant. I mean, that's going to be huge.
Yeah, most definitely. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to go out here in the chat again. I want to make sure that I'm not missing anybody here because, again, you know, you guys in the chat, thank you so much for, you know, taking time to do that. Bruce Arians never had a guy like him and had a guy like him. So, yeah, I was looking at Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer wasn't, would you say that he was like on the back end of his career coming from Cincinnati to Arizona? I'm trying to remember because I know he had some pretty catastrophic injuries when he was in Cincinnati. And then when he got to Arizona, he was, you know, he was kind of winding down his career.
Yeah, Carson Palmer was very similar to Kurt Warner when Kurt Warner went to Arizona. It was pretty much very similar. I mean, I think Kurt Warner was a little bit older. He was more of the back end ready to retire, but Carson was kind of in that same boat where he was kind of struggling, wasn't really, you know, playing great. I know he played a little bit for Oakland.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when he went to Arizona and got with Bruce, I mean, it was night and day different. You know, there was
Revitalized his career.
Yeah, and Carson was really good, and really it was a perfect offense for him. And not many, you know, fans know this, but it's not all, you know, vertical offense. What Bruce does very well is he attacks the middle of the field very successfully, and that's what I like about this match with Jameis because that's Jameis's strength. Like he knows how to attack the middle of the field and really hit those seam throws, and I think
to be able to lead receivers to where the ball's going to be.
Yeah. So, and that's why, you know, Bruce likes to have speed on the outside. I think that's one of the main reasons they drafted like a Scotty Miller and bringing in a Brashad Perriman because those guys can just stretch the field and get those safeties out of the way, and then you have ability to attack the middle of the field with an O.J. Howard, a Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, etc. So that's where your big plays are going to come from. And that's what Carson Palmer did so well. He was just really good in his timing and really knew how to attack the middle of the field. And that also goes down to the downfield shots. And once you attack the middle of the field, that opens up the outside. And that's, you know, that's really how it boils down to.
Yeah. So, you know, that's definitely something to look forward to. And OJ at full strength is a Pro Bowler, no doubt, is a All-Pro, no doubt. Yes. He's got to stay healthy. That's the one thing. I love his skill set. I love his physicality. I love his hands. But, you know, he's got to stay healthy. I mean, you can't win games on the sidelines. And let's hope that, you know, I know this is the NFL, but let's hope that this is the year that he can stay healthy and go out there and help this team win some games. Stephen Bass was saying speed, and more speed. From what you're looking at, would you say that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have really improved in the speed department compared to last year's team?
Yeah, I mean, like they say, America is all about hot, nasty speed. I mean, that's what it's about. So the Bucs are definitely faster, especially on defense. They've added so much speed. I mean, with Devin White and his athletic ability, that's huge. And then with the new pieces at corner and safety, yeah, definitely much faster. And even on offense, too. I mean, Scotty Miller is just as fast as Deshaun Jackson. Brashad Perriman, same thing, fast but tall and has size. Justin Watson, same thing. Those guys are athletic.
Yeah.
OJ Howard is not human, so yeah. I mean, they got speed. Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
faster team.
yeah, most definitely. And let's see. Vernon Hargraves is in for a redemption season. Got to prove that he's legit. And Rex Dillon was asking about the draft pick with the bad eye.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Cousin Daniels. Yeah,
yeah, okay.
yeah,
And do you see him? Is it possible that he can find a spot on a roster spot on this team?
yeah. Definitely. I mean, he's someone to watch for sure. I think he's right there with David Kinney. They're probably going to be fighting for the same spot, so it's going to be interesting to see who comes out of that battle. Winning that one. It really just depends on how many, I guess, outside linebackers they're going to keep. Obviously, you have Noah Spence and Carl Nassib. Then you have JPP probably on the PUP list or whatever they're going to put him on.
Do you rush him back or do you let him wait another season? I know he's
No,
getting
I think
older.
you just let it go slow and just see what happens. You could probably put him on the PUP, and then he's out for like the first 6 weeks, and then they can make adjustments. If they get any updates as it goes along or gets closer, and you could probably put him on IR if it's not gonna, no reason to rush him back. So I think they'll definitely take their time with it. But you look at that position, so you have Nassib Spence, you have Shaq Barrett,
Yeah.
and then
Shaq Barrett
really,
is again. That's the guy that you got to be watching him. I am
yeah, for
so
sure.
excited to see what he can do.
Hmm.
He's because he's playing for a big contract. A
Yes.
lot of these guys on these 1 year contracts, believe it or not, they're coming in here to showcase what they can do for the next team that comes along. So
Hmm.
you're going to see some guys. I know the Bucks are going to lose some guys on defense, but it'll give you an opportunity to draft some guys next year. But this year, be sure to enjoy some of these guys because they may be on another team next year.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm really excited about Shaq Barrett as well. And then you have like Anthony Nelson, the rookie that they drafted.
Yeah.
So that's really, your four right there. And then if they want to keep five or maybe six, I don't know. So that's, one spot that's going to be up for grabs. And it'll probably be one of those guys in David Kinney or Cousin Daniels. So it'll
Yep.
be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun again.
Yep.
So many. I don't know if you remember a couple of seasons ago. This was right before. I think this was right before Kendall Beckwith got hurt. We were
Hmm.
talking about the linebacker core, and we are like, oh, okay. Well, let's talk about where the needs are because we're not worried about the linebacker core. And then here we are, mid-season, and we're like, oh man, it's looking a little scarce there for the linebacker core. So
Hmm.
I think what the coaching staff, what the general manager has done, they've gone out and addressed this. I see a lot of players that could potentially come in the case of injury and do quite well. So
Right.
again, it's gonna be everybody. And what did and Dominic Sue said it's a mentality more
Oh
than
yeah.
anything. And
Yeah.
I think that these guys, there's a lot of guys that can come in there and they can win some games that they're not supposed to win. So
Mhm.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I don't get into the whole schedule thing and the strength of schedule
Yeah,
and
me either. That's
all
college.
of that. Yeah, exactly. So, I look at it week to week because it is a week to week league, and it's any given Sunday out there. So the Bucks have a great chance of winning every game they go into, and that goes with the same thing of any other team. Whether you're a
Hmm.
fan of the Browns or Raiders, whoever, or
Any given
um,
Sunday or Monday
yeah.
or
So
Thursday.
yeah, yeah. Or so you just have to look at each matchup differently
Right.
because that's what it is. It's a whole new game every week. I think that's why the NFL is so popular. I mean, that's what makes it a great game because
Yeah.
uh, it's just something new every time they're out there.
Yeah, and you've got all these different storylines, and I
Yeah.
think that's what a lot of your networks really get into the
Mm.
storylines. Quan Alexander coming back to playing against Tampa,
Yeah.
John Lynch coming back to Tampa.
Mm.
What Adam Humphreys coming back or coming to Tampa or playing against his former team. So, just little things like that. I mean, that's where people they love the storylines. They love these little things. And, people talk about the strength, like you talked about the schedule. You've got to go out and play the game, regardless of what the schedule is. So you might as well, get that game plan together and go out and execute. So I'm really looking forward to that too. Let's see. A lot of guys on 1-year contracts or in contract years. Not everyone can get signed. And All Hands was asking who gets franchise tag next off season. You know what? I'm going to save that for the end of the season before I say anything. I want to see how people play this year. Again, like we talked about, new coach. Let's see how people respond to this. Let's see how they do in this scheme. And does it put them in a position where they can go to another team and ask for that max contract? We'll just kind of have to wait and see.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, waiting on. Yeah, no reason to talk franchise tag yet. I mean, if there's an obvious candidate, it would probably be Jameis Winston. But let's get through 2019 first. But I think that's a good thing. I think these guys being on one-year deals. I think that's going to motivate them and get them.
Because you don't have all these max contracts. These guys are like, okay, I have to go out here and produce because I've got an opportunity to make even more money. So that's motivation for a lot of these guys and their brands. Calvin Andrews brought up a very interesting point. He said that these coaches actually teach and have structured practices. Yes. And how would you respond to that comment right there? I totally agree with it. I mean, you have a direction and, with this head coach that he wants to go. And, he shows that with his practices and how he wants to get his coaches better than what they are. But what are your thoughts?
No, I think that's a great point. I think the main thing, though, it comes down to communication. And I just think this staff is just better communicators. And that's what coaching is. It's all about communication and really letting your players know what you expect of them and what you're asking them to do. So if these guys know what they're asked to do and they know how to do it, well and know how to execute, then that's going to make them better football players on the field. So it's really just communication that I think is better overall, and that's going to make a huge difference. And you can already see that, with the reports that have come out from practice earlier in the year, just guys communicating on the field more, really understanding or grasping what they're asked to do. And I think that's going to make a huge difference in 2019.
Yeah, most definitely. That is going to be big. And these guys, and once you get players buying in, I think winning will speed this up if there's anything that can make this go faster or, make the season more successful is winning. When you start winning games, people start buying, your players start buying in, and everybody from top to bottom starts buying in. Then the fan base starts buying in. So, I think wins are going to be very important this year early on. And throughout the season, of course, but wins are going to be very important this year in order to get people to buy into what Bruce Arians is wanting to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And once the coaching staff has all the guys, bought in and really on the same page, I mean, that's what leads to wins. It's not about, who's the most talented. Everyone's talented in NFL. It's about being on the same direction and really understanding as a team what you have to do to get wins every week. And, you just got to have that willpower. And like Ndamukong Suh said, it's a mentality. And that's something that, this coaching staff is trying to build throughout the team. And, I could go into, well, never mind. I'm not going to go there. We can save that. We can save that for, down the road conversation. But, I'll just end it at that. But I think, once you have that established and you have that culture, that mentality, winning will just come naturally because you have everything aligned. You're on the same page with everybody, and it just makes it easier week in and week out.
Yeah, most definitely, man. And again, that's what it all comes down to, and that's what you saw with Tony Dungy and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Early on, getting your team to buy in. I mean, you've had all these years of futility, and then getting this new coach to come in and get people to buy into what he's trying to do. And then once that happens, they start winning games, and they win games. They start out winning games they're not supposed to win. Then they start winning games, and then they really start winning games. And then the defense starts to become a little bit more dominant. And then it becomes, hey, you get 17 and we'll hold our own, with the other team's offense. So it just builds. It's a huge buildup, and I think that again, it's one of those things that you've got the tools here. I really believe that they do have the talent. Otherwise, I don't believe that Bruce Arians would have come out of retirement to even look at this team if this was a total rebuild.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree there. I think you got really good pieces in place. You have a good core to build with, and I think they've added a lot of good young talent this offseason. I think the plan is to develop these guys, and that's something that has been missed over the last few years is player development and making these guys take that next step and be consistent and become better players. You look at the rookies from last year. If those guys can take that next step forward and get better, Ronald Jones, Alex Kappa, Vita Vea, etc.,
Right.
Carlton Davis, all those guys take steps. That's gonna be fantastic. That's gonna be huge for this team.
Yeah, because for years this team had missed multiple misses on draft picks, and they had such a high turnover. And then when you get past Raheem Morris, you've got the coaching carousel. Then you have even more player turnover. And I think you're getting to a point where this is gonna get better. It has to get better. And I think, like we've talked about throughout the show, I think you've got a coach that could potentially do that. If you look at his track record, go back and look at the play calling, and I don't think he had that huge level of talent, that pool of talent like you see here with the quarterback, with wide receivers, with tight ends, and some of the other players that are on this team. So I really think that a lot of fans are going to be pleasantly surprised. I have yet to see what this team is going to look like, but just based on his track record, based on what he's done, where he's been, he's evolved with the NFL, where a lot of the coaches we've had, we haven't seen that. So I think this is going to be a little bit different. Personally, I think this is going to be a little bit different, and it's going to definitely be something that I'll look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited, and I just like not only the large staff that he brought in, but I also like his attention to detail in terms of the sports science and the athletic training that he's brought to this team. I think that's going to be huge. Really focusing on guys' bodies and really understanding what they need to be at their top end performance. I think that's going to be critical, and hopefully that leads to less injuries that we'll see this year, and just guys being in better shape and really being better fit to accomplish what they have to do each weekend and week out. So I love that.
There was something interesting. I think me and you were talking about this a couple of years ago. Where we were trying to look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the injuries that they've been going through compared to the rest of the NFL, because it just seemed to me like over the years, every time a free agent would come through, there would be an injury or a nick here, and they're just not at 100% throughout the season. And we saw quite a bit of that, over the past couple of seasons. So not sure what's going to come from this, but again, it's going to be fun to watch. There are going to be some players. There are going to be some surprise players that are going to actually get spots on the roster, and I'm sure there are going to be players that you're expecting to be on a roster that aren't going to make it. So again, Bruce Arians is not married to the majority of these players on this team. He wants the best of the best 53. And that's what he's shooting for. When he talked about scraping the bottom of the barrel to see what he's got, he's really serious about finding those diamonds in the rough and getting those guys that are going to go out there and give you 200% every game.
Yeah, for sure. And like we said, roster is fluid. So it's going to be interesting to see, how they construct the roster throughout the preseason, and if there's any guys that become available that may help this team. I would expect the Bucks to be aggressive and go after those guys. Whether it be offensive line help or maybe another piece in the front seven. So, those are things to look out for. That's something that always gets me excited. It's just the constant puzzle of the
Yeah.
roster and how they have to put it together and really make sure that they're on top of things and that they're always upgrading the roster and not taking steps backwards.
Yeah, most definitely. Eric Hardenett, I love your attitude, and that's the way fans should be. The Bucks playoff season for the Bucks. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that is a good attitude, a good mentality to have going into the season. Why not the Bucks? So anything's possible, and I'm not going to say that. Oh no, you're wrong. It can't happen. It can happen. So it's going to be fun to watch and kind of sit back and see what they do. But can you believe it? It's been a whole hour. So I want to get your thoughts. What do you think of the new software? Just kind of logging in this way as opposed to how we were doing things before. Is this a little bit better?
Yeah,
Or?
yeah, I think it works. A little technical glitch in the beginning, but I think it works pretty well. Looks like YouTube is working too. Working well as well. So that's good.
Yeah.
The fans can hear us. So
Yep. That's the most important part. Right
that's
there.
the most important part. As long as they can hear us and
Yeah.
and they're listening to all the stuff we say. So that's great.
Yeah, most definitely.
Mm.
And guys, I will get this up on this will be on iTunes. So as soon as I get off here, I'll go ahead and get this reverted over and should be up on iTunes first thing in the morning. I've been lazy and I've been slacking, and I do apologize for that. We're getting closer to the season. We'll have more content to talk about. We may have something to, I'm going to try to get somebody that will be at camp to come on the show and give us some thoughts on what's going on. Get some questions from Pless and myself, and kind of have some fun with it. And just keep your eyes out. If you're not following me on Twitter, hit me up on at Buck What You Heard. I'll follow you back. Just say, hey, I was following you on Buck What You Heard, and I'll make sure to follow you back. Michael Pless, please follow him. Great X's and O's guy. Very underrated as far as social media goes. This is a guy that you should be following. I trust his opinion over a lot of other people's. So I have to tell you, I'm not just saying that because he's on the show with me. He's the co-host. But I do really sincerely mean that. The guy has really put a lot of work, a lot of time and effort into getting better, into understanding, going deep into understanding the game, not just with analytics, but actual X's and O's. So definitely a guy that you guys should follow. I'm very fortunate to have him on here.
I appreciate that, Gene. Most of the time I'm just trying not to say anything dumb. So as long as I can look smart and put out something good, then I'm happy with that. And it's humbling that people listen to my opinion as well as Mark's and your opinion as well. So that it's awesome that we're getting respect from others, which is nice, and it all goes really out to the fans that listen to the show. Thank you guys so much, and it's really appreciative. And I mean, we talk a lot of nonsense on here too, but we also try to put on some good facts and really just share our thoughts on the team. And it's just having fun with it, like Gene likes to say, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, because we're not insiders.
Right.
And I know a lot of people take it so seriously, like they're insiders, they know what's going on, and I think all we are fans that fans that want their voices heard. That's why I make sure I hit up the chat and make sure that I reach out to everybody and mention everybody in the chat as much as I can. You guys do a great job. I mean, I don't see a lot of stupid comments, and I wouldn't never come out and say they were stupid comments, but normally you run into people with outlandish viewpoints on things. But I think that the listeners here are, across the board are doing a great job. They believe the way they do, and they have a lot to back up the way they believe.
Absolutely.
So you guys are great. Yeah. And as Andre Glenn is saying here, hit the like button for Buck What You Heard if you haven't already, and that's always appreciated. I can always use the followers and help me to get ready to use more of the mobile aspects of YouTube. I will be at some games this year, so be sure to look for that. I'm always looking to talk to anybody about football. I'm really looking forward to this year, especially. So I'm going to get you a chance to give your closing thoughts, Pless, and we'll roll up out of here.
Yeah, it was a fun show as always. Yeah, I mean, I just can't believe it's we're already there. Like, it's already training camp next week, and teams have already started some of their camps, and it's just crazy that football is back already. So it's exciting, but at the same time, just try to enjoy it because it goes so quick. It goes very fast. So that's what I'm really going to try to do this year, is just really enjoy every moment, every Bucks news or whatever is out there. Really just take it all in and try to really enjoy this season because it just goes so fast. And hopefully for us, I mean, this is a longer season and we're playing into January, which would be nice. And but yeah, I mean, I'm just ready for the season to get started. As always, like I said earlier, you can catch myself at Real Bucks Talk. Check out this show, Buck What You Heard. I think every Wednesday, I think that's where we're going to be.
And I was going to ask you, what do you think about doing 9? Are you good with 9, or should we go to 10, or what do you think?
I'm good with 9. 9 is perfect for me.
Yeah,
that will work well. But then also, so we have Buck What You Heard. We have at Real Bucks Talk podcast. And really, we're probably ourselves, Real Bucks Talk is probably going to be transferring towards YouTube soon. So we're going to have content on there and got some things that we're working on. We really want to get the game film breakdown out there. We'll still have that up on Twitter, but we really want to go more in depth with it and probably have that where we can actually show you on video and really analyze it and really go through it and really take you through plays and really show you exactly what goes into a play, because there's a lot that happens that you don't see if you're just watching the football. Like we say, take your eyes off the football. There's a lot more that goes on. So really just get more in depth with that. That's something that we're really looking forward to. It's going to be exciting. But yeah, as always, love to talk Bucks football. I mean, that's what we do. It's fun.
Yeah, most definitely. Mm-hmm. And thank you for having me on. I think I was on a couple of weeks ago, and
absolutely.
We had a great time. And need to get Mark on here again. And guys, look for it in this year too. After the game, I may do a 30-minute stream and get somebody on with fan reaction, just to kind of get your thoughts on the game, win or lose, and let you vent a little bit. Put that link out there so different people can get on and actually get on camera and talk about how they feel about what the Bucks have done. So it's gonna be fun. This is gonna be a fun year. I feel like we're Real Bucks Talk and Buck What You Heard are really connected because we really started coming on strong about the same time. Right. And I have to admit, you're probably the most solid co-host that I've had. No offense to any of the other co-hosts that I've had, but you just the X's and O's and being able to explain things the way you do. I mean, you really do a great job. So it's going to be a fun year, and we're going to have fun with it. Next week we'll definitely be on. Monday I will have All Hands Galley on here as a fan, just giving his perspective. Just another little 30-minute show just to show you guys that I really appreciate you. And if you're interested in coming on, and you have to be following me on Twitter in order for this to work, hit me up on Twitter, DM me, hey, I'm interested in coming on, and we'll make something happen. I'm going to be doing a lot more, this year. This is a big year for us. And, we're coming up on the collective bargaining agreement. So that should kind of sit in the back of your minds, and we may have work stoppage with football. So we really got to enjoy this season as that looms at the end of the year. So one of those other big things. Yeah. But for me, my final thoughts, I want to shout out to everybody. Neil L., as I mentioned, Amazement 717, Andre Glenn, Antonio Santiago, thank you so much. All Hands Galley, one Nez, what's going on? Eric Hardnett, there we go. Mr. Playoffs, there we go. And we'll I'll definitely be shouting you out. If the Bucks go to the playoffs, we'll definitely be shouting you out at the end of the year about that. Demand, what's going on? As he say, what's up? He's saying what's up to Pless and myself. I appreciate that. You guys are great. And B. Loggins, again, I'm sorry. I promise I didn't miss you. I got you covered. I enjoy this. I really do. And you guys have some really great points. Rex Dillon, the pit master himself. If you ever get to Arizona, this guy's brisket is to die for. I would put his brisket up against Ryan Jensen's. However, I haven't tasted Ryan Jensen's. I've only tasted Rex's. So a lot of fun. Well, guys, we've been on for over an hour, and I appreciate you guys. I will get this up on iTunes here tonight, and you guys should see it first thing tomorrow. But for myself, thank you, and Michael Pless, we're going to get on out of here. And again, thank you so much, and you guys have a great